with us Pilar Tena, Director of Instituto Cervantes in Greece and Regional Coordinator of Instituto Cervantes. Elena Marcoulli, Spanish Language Counselor at the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth in Cyprus, and Andrea Coppola, Managing Director for Italy and Southeast Europe at IE University. To kick off our discussion, I would like to invite Pilar Tena to share her insights. Pilar, could you please provide us with information about the mission of Instituto Cervantes in the world and an overview of the current status of the Spanish language in the world and in the Eastern Mediterranean region? What challenges do you think lie ahead?
Thank you, Susana, and good afternoon. My name is Pilar Tena. As Susana was saying, I'm the director of the Instituto Cervantes in Greece. Very briefly, the Instituto Cervantes is a public institution created by the Spanish government in 1991 with basically a twofold mission: to promote the teaching, study, and use of Spanish globally, and to spread Spanish and Hispanic American culture abroad. Our institution is affiliated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it collaborates with institutions all over the world to promote encounters, exchanges, offer quality services and products related to the Spanish language, etc. The Cervantes organizes every year also the DELE diplomas, official diplomas certifying the degree of competence and mastery of the Spanish language, awarded by the Cervantes on behalf of the Spanish Ministry of Education. Through its centers and university hubs, known as Aula Cervantes, it is present in roughly 100 cities and 50 countries across 5 continents. For those of you who would like to see it more clearly, basically we do for Spain abroad what the Goethe Institute or the Institut Français or the Instituto Italiano di Cultura do for their own countries. Our oldest center in Greece is in Athens, where we have 2 buildings and a very, very solid presence. It's a very old center, but we also have an extension in Thessaloniki and work in many different cities in the country. In Cyprus, we have our university hub at the University of Cyprus, and Susana, our moderator, is in charge of it. But let us start with the core of this roundtable. Our institution elaborates a very consistent report every year, the Instituto Cervantes yearbook, Spanish in the World. We're going to talk today about the information of the 2023, which is the last one published. We will have another one rather soon, but these are the figures that we have today. The report provides a complete picture of the presence of Spanish language in the world by updating its most representative variables. It intends to establish a quantitative basis for Spanish from which to guess the main pitfalls that the language will have to overcome in the short and medium term. This year's report once again confirms the demographic strength of a language that is already close to 600 million potential users. According to just some bullet points, according to the 2023 yearbook, almost 500 million people speak Spanish as their mother tongue, compared to 496 million the previous year. The total number of potential users of Spanish is close to 600 million, as we were saying. 7.5% of the world's population can currently communicate in Spanish with varying degrees of proficiency. Almost 500 million speak it as native language, and around 100 million have it as a second language or are learning it. Some striking phrases, but after Mandarin Chinese, Spanish is the world's second mother tongue by number of speakers. It is the 4th if all levels of language proficiency are included, only behind English, Mandarin Chinese, and Hindi. More than 23 million people study Spanish as a foreign language, and Spanish holds the 3rd position in the United Nations and the 4th one in European Union institutions. And in the US, we can talk more about the US later and about other areas of the world, but I just want to give this a quick figure. In the US, the number of speakers is now 60 million, but in 2060, it will be the second largest Spanish-speaking country in the world, right after Mexico, with over 110 million speakers. There are, Susana was asking about the challenges. There are many open fronts and very few certainties in a constantly changing global environment. But one thing is clear, strategies for the promotion of Spanish, designed from the reality of these figures that we have, will contribute to smoothing the path that remains to be traveled. Challenges, well, one of them is expanding the number of speakers beyond the sphere of the mother tongue, dealing with the increasingly established position of English as an international lingua franca, knowing how to take advantage of the strategic growth area of sub-Saharan Africa, where there's a huge interest, a growing interest in learning Spanish, and also strengthening further the privileged platform represented by the Spanish community in the United States. I also have a lot of information about the EU, about what's happening in the European Union, but maybe we can go deeply later. Just going to give some highlights. There is an Eurostat report which provides data for the period 2013 to 2020. This last report confirms that Spanish is booming in Europe at large and in Greece. In the EU in 2013, 12.6% of students were studying Spanish. In 2016, 13.6%. And in 2020, the number has increased to 18.5%. Comparing the foreign languages studied in compulsory secondary education in the EU, the Eurostat report gives the following overview. A decline in French, minus 3%, a decline in German, minus 1%, a slight growth in Italian, 0.3%, with Spanish clearly growing, plus 5.8%. These are Eurostat's figures, it's not me guessing. In the European Union, the Spanish is the fourth language in terms of the number of native speakers after German, Italian, and French. It is also the fourth in terms of the number of people who speak it as a foreign language after English, French, and German in this order. And in total, some 76 million Europeans are able to communicate in Spanish with varying degrees of proficiency. We may go back to this later, but some interesting things is that the study of Spanish will surpass that of German before the end of this decade, if things go as are predicted. Also interesting within the European frame is that Spain is by far the country that receives the most Erasmus students, which indicates the interest of this language among the European university students. Greece. I'll give a few facts about Greece. The one important piece of information is that Spanish is not available in secondary public education as an optional language, something we think should change, and let's hope that it will change. But in private schools, it has become a favorite choice. There was a pilot program in the academic years 2008, 2009, and 2009-2010, and Spanish was introduced. The interest was amazing. It was really high. It went very well. But then several successive crises came up, and it was cancelled. The program was cancelled. Unfortunately, we're trying to now restart that trend, but we will see what happens. But as I was saying, 85% of students, for instance, at the Lycée Français of Athens, which is a huge, fabulous school with hundreds and hundreds of students, 85% of students, it's a private school, have chosen this year Spanish as their second foreign language. This is in the rest of the private schools. There are around 30 in the Attica area that are offering Spanish as an option. The clear trend is again the same, for pupils to choose Spanish as their second language after English. The increase of Spanish students in private education is estimated at more than 20% per year in overall figures for Greece. If students were allowed to select Spanish in public schools, Spanish would be the second language after English, without any doubt. Another piece of information that is important is that in Greece, as some of you may know, there is a diploma, a state diploma called the Kratiko. It's recognized by Greek institutions as the official certificate for knowledge of languages, including Spanish, issued by the National and Capodistrict University of Athens, the official thing. The number of students who are taking the Spanish Kratiko is again increasing in a dramatic way, which means that there is the interest to certify their Spanish. They can also do it through Delhi, but the Kratiko is the Greek state. There is a very interesting study by Emmanuel Nomikos, a teacher who is working with the Open University in Greece, and he's done a very thorough report, exam work about what's happening with Spanish in Greece. He believes that Spanish is nowadays so appreciated in Spain, thanks in part, in large part, thanks to the music and film industry and the success, incredible success of TV series, and I see someone there saying yes, 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 like, the television series like La Casa de Papel and so on, which have become very, very popular and have, awakened the interest to learn Spanish. Also, Nomikos points out, and that's very clear for a Spaniard who lives in Greece, I can confirm it, another factor that favors the spreading is that Spanish and Greek are very similar at a phonetical and syntactic level, and that makes it easier to learn as a foreign language compared to others. Here, Elena, our teacher, can confirm this. Well, in university education, there are 2 Greek universities that have departments of Spanish, so there is an interest in Spanish, and there are teacher training programs that are being implemented also at several levels. Well, we are optimistic about the future, and the interest is there, clearly, so we will see if we can make the most of it. Thank you. Sorry, too much?
No, thank you, Pilar, for that insightful overview. It's fascinating to hear about the growth and the challenges surrounding Spanish in the region. Now, I would like to turn to Elena Marcoulli. Elena, as the Spanish language counselor at the Ministry of Education, could you share your perspective of the role of Spanish in the Cypriot educational system? How is the demand for Spanish evolving among students, and what initiatives are being implemented to support this growth?
Thank you, Susana. Good afternoon, everybody. I will begin my presentation with some general information regarding the presence of Spanish language in public and private secondary education schools in Cyprus, and I will move on to give an overview of the situation in the higher education institutions. Before closing, I will refer to some of the actions the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth is taking to enhance plurilingualism. The Spanish language was first introduced on a one-year trial basis in several schools in the academic year of 2001-2002, along with a group of other languages, as part of the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth policy for plurilingualism. It was taught in the 2 final years of upper secondary schools, which applies to this day. In 2002, Spanish was introduced in the curriculum to be taught for 2 periods weekly as an elective subject for all students at any school in Cyprus. In 2016, the law regulating the education in Cyprus changed and introduced a new framework for teaching foreign languages in Cyprus other than English and French. Along with some other languages, Spanish was to be taught weekly on a four-period optional examinable subject, reaching the A2 level of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. This change brought about a substantial decrease in the number of students opting for Spanish, and consequently, the number of teachers declined considerably. However, the total number of students learning Spanish in public secondary education schools has recorded a stable increase, reaching these last 2 years more than 1,200 students in total. This is also due to the fact that the students can be examined in Spanish as a fifth element at the university entrance examination, the Pan-Cyprian Access examinations, giving these students the advantage of a higher ranking grade. This academic year, 2024-25, 24 Spanish language teachers are working in 45 public schools. As far as private secondary school education is concerned, Spanish is taught in about 10 private schools throughout Cyprus. It is taught as an elective subject, and in some of these private schools, it is part of their GCSE program. The Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth also provides general adult education in Cyprus within the framework of providing lifelong learning opportunities. In the adult education centers, Spanish language courses are offered along with other 9 languages. With regard to higher education, Spanish is offered in 2 public universities, the University of Cyprus and the Cyprus Technological University. The Language Center at the University of Cyprus has 30 lecturers of Spanish language, and it offers courses up to B1 level. In addition, in January 2025, the Spanish language will also be part of the European Studies Master's Program curriculum. The second public university, the Cyprus Technological University, is located in Limassol, where Spanish is also an elective subject, and this academic year it is offered at its Paphos branch as well, as part of the Hospitality and Tourism Management degree. Though the number of private universities in Cyprus is quite large, there are 9 private universities, just this academic year, 1 university implemented Spanish language courses thanks to a collaboration agreement with Instituto Cervantes. The Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth, in its effort to further promote plurilingualism, has initiated discussions with the Instituto Cervantes and the Embassy of Spain in Cyprus for the introduction of the Diplomas of Spanish as a Foreign Language examination, the DELE, in the public education. This shall offer secondary education students the opportunity to acquire an official certification with international recognition. Furthermore, as the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth has always been a proponent of teachers' development, every year it embraces the training seminar for Spanish teachers in Cyprus, organized by the Instituto Cervantes, the Embassy of Spain in Cyprus, and the Language Center at the University of Cyprus. This seminar is a remarkable milestone for Spanish teachers in our country, for it acts as a link to new trends and new methods in the field of teaching Spanish as a foreign language. In addition, the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth is offering a pre-service training program for Spanish language teachers, which is a requirement in order to become a full-time civil servant in public schools. The presence of Spanish in schools in Cyprus, paired with the demand for new destinations among Cypriot students to pursue their higher education studies overseas, has seen Spain become an attractive player in the game. This has led the Ministry of Education, Sport and Youth to initiate discussions with the competent ministry in Spain to sign an agreement for mutual recognition of higher education qualifications. Within the same context lies the cooperation between the school councillors and the Instituto Cervantes on providing students with information regarding study opportunities in universities in Spain and admission requirements. I hope you find the information interesting. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Elena, for shedding light on the educational aspects and initiatives in place. It is encouraging to see the commitment to promoting the Spanish language in Cyprus. Next, I would like to bring in Andrea Coppola. Andrea, from your position at IE University, do you see the demand for pursuing studies in Spain? How do you see the demand? And are there any specific trends or opportunities that you believe are worth noting?
Ευχαριστώ, Vanessa. So, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm from university, so our education offer starts from high B, through by bachelor's degree, master's, and executive education. I'm in charge of Cyprus of the region from the last 2 years, and the demand was very, very good because we grew like 180% all in the last year. We have an alumni club as well in Cyprus from people that study in Spain from Cyprus. And what we saw that Spain is like a bridge, you know, because people when we ask people, why you want to study in Spain? They usually say the first thing, I want to learn Spanish, okay? It's right, our courses are in English at the end of the day, but it's for us, it's mandatory that people that study in IE at the end of the 4 years must speak Spanish, and they will take a DELE exam, no? At the end of the 4 years. So they say, because I want to learn Spanish, I want to live in Spain. Why? When you study in Spain, 100% you are a bridge for the world, not only Ibero-America, but worldwide. Just we think is United States, or all the data that Pilar told us before. Spanish language is growing so fast. Everybody already speaks Spanish. And then, for example, in Europe, thanks to the Erasmus program, okay, the most demanded country is Spain. For example, from Italy, I'm Italian, no? The 85% of Erasmus want to go to Spain. So it's a real value added because when you study Spain, you can study in English, but then you learn other language. And this language helps you to jump in the job market worldwide. It's a value added that you have at the end of the day. So from Cyprus, specifically in Cyprus, we have a very intense activities here, because we usually visit a private and public school as well, because there is a lot of demand. This year, the demand for the next year will already grow like 55% of the last year, and for us it's huge. But I manage 18 countries, okay? And one of the most important things is it's passed all in Cyprus that people, kids or professionals that study Spain, then they want to go back to Cyprus as well to help to push up the country, no? At the end of the day, these people, the government, no, when you study in public school, is investing in you when you study in a public school. At the end of the day, you go abroad and you came back to Cyprus to help the country to go up. And nowadays we see how the 85–90% of the Cypriots decide to came back here, working multinational here, because Cyprus is very well located. It's in the Mediterranean Sea. It's right at the pot, the melting pot for different cultures from the Eastern world, East and West. So this is the trend that we can see inside IE University. And for the next 5 years, we see that the growing of the Spain, like as a point of the education, is going up. Thanks from the Brexit as well, because it helps a lot as well. Why? Because nowadays, Great Britain, it's not very easy to go there, but if you see, there are a lot of countries in Europe, Italy, French, Germany, where people can study, at the end of the day, they decide to go there. Some family business as well invest in education in Spanish. Why? Because then they can move up, and then it can expand their business as well to Latin America. So Madrid, the capital, it's a real bridge. Spain, it's a real bridge between different countries, different world, thanks to the Spanish language.
Thank you, Andrea, for highlighting those trends. So let's open the floor for questions. Please feel free to ask our panelists or share your thoughts on the topic. Is there any question? Yeah?
Yes. First of all, thank you for review. I want to put a reflection and address a couple of questions to the representative of the Instituto Cervantes.
Okay, hang on a minute because I think they're going to give you a microphone. And your name is?
Javier.
You speak Spanish? It sounded Spanish by the way you said it. No, the way you pronounced your name, Javier. It's not Javier.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Is it working?
Is it? Okay. Yes. So first of all, thank you to the three speakers and the moderator. As I said, I wanted to make a couple of reflections and then pose a question specifically for the representative of the Instituto Cervantes. I mean, first of all, I think it's a joy as a Spanish national that Spanish is kind of booming around the world, and it's evident that we have the interest for the Spanish language all over the place, especially for young people. So that goes first. My reflection will be, considering that the Spanish it's a global language, even for native speakers, Spanish is spoken as a native language in more than 20 countries, and you find in South America most of native speakers, and then Spain. And Spain is only the fourth country in number of native speakers. So by definition, the Spanish language has a huge influence from different kind of Spanish. I don't know what's the specific reference, sub-languages or dialects or whatever. But my point is that Spanish is a global language, that you cannot say that the Spanish spoken in Spain is the correct one, the one spoken in Mexico is the correct one. It's just an amalgama, as we say in Spanish, of the different types of Spanish that are spoken across the world. So
Absolutely.
my reflection will be, first of all, how the Instituto Cervantes has digested that reality in their strategy to present the Spanish language to the world, let's say. That's part of the role that they have. And then, what is the influence of that, again, that core idea when using the language as an introduction or as a presentation card for the Spanish culture, or not the Spanish, but the Hispanic culture? So that's a little bit my...
It's a very, very, very interesting question.
Thank you, Javier. Go ahead, Pilar.
Thank you, Javier. Very interesting. It could have been prepared, but it's not prepared. But it could have been something that I would have asked someone to ask. This is something that in the last years has been totally a subject that has been reflected upon, and very clearly there is a very clear position. We talk at the Instituto Cervantes and all over the Spanish-speaking countries of pan-Hispanism, which is a concept that precisely wants to recognize that the Spanish spoken in Peru is just as good as the one spoken in Spain, or in Ecuador, or in anywhere in the 20-plus countries where it's an official language. It hasn't always been like that, and it's also been some kind of more political position in a different sense. But for us, it has been absolutely, assumed as the reality. And this is at a level not just of the Instituto Cervantes and the Ministries of Culture, it's at the level of the academies, the Real Academia de la Lengua, and all the other official academies of the different countries. The work is common to all of us. The words have been assumed, the words used in different countries. It's all part of the same heritage, and of course, it's not only recognized as Spanish as good as any other Spanish spoken in the center of Castilla in Spain, but an absolute plus that shows precisely the personality and the special character of our language, which is precisely why it's rich, and this is precisely why we believe also that it has spread in such a incredible way as we're seeing. No, it has a lot to do with that, and the attraction that Spanish has. Also, Andrea was mentioning, you learn Spanish and that takes you very far away. It takes you to 20 countries where you have opportunities, work opportunities, tourism, culture, and also to the United States. We mustn't forget that there are 60 million Spanish speakers in the United States now, which means the amount of companies that are behind that, the amount of economic interest. So there's a lot of opportunities now for people who speak Spanish to go to the United States. And yes, this is a question that is extremely important for us. And it's not only something that has been adjusted to accept. It's a vindication of the Instituto Cervantes, that we know that it has to be based, the defense of Spanish has to be based in diversity, in difference, in the nuances of the language as well, which is what gives it strength. There was a second question, but it's more or less already answered. You?
And thank you, Pilar. And I would like to add to what she mentioned that, for example, the diplomas of Spanish as a foreign language, at the beginning, they used to use only Spanish from Spain. Accent be more neutral, because Spain, also the variety of accents and slang and everything. So they tend to be neutral with the Spanish. Nowadays, they include all type of accents from Latin America, from Spain, and also during the marking of the papers, if you use vocabulary from other countries, as long as you are consistent using the vocabulary, they don't mark it as incorrect. They recognize all those accents and they go ahead with it. So it is more like Spanish from all over the world, from all the countries who speak Spanish. That's why. Any other questions? The microphone, please, over there.
Es una pena que no hayan puesto la infografía.
Porque no hay pantalla.
Allí.
Hi, thank you so much for the interesting discussion. My question is related to education and Erasmus, really. I know you mentioned Brexit and the impact that it's having on the exchange between UK and Spanish students. Prior to coming to Cyprus, I was actually working on Brexit in Spain, and I saw the real detrimental effects of Brexit on education. I know now that there are less students from the UK going to Spain, and they're going through different schemes. My question is really, what are Spanish students doing to be able to get to the UK? What alternative routes are they taking to be able to study in the UK after Brexit?
No me entero mucho, es que no me he enterado de lo que ha contestado. Yo no le oía bien.
Poco. I listen. Okay.
I didn't really hear very well.
Spanish students going to UK.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Before Brexit and after Brexit, right?
Yeah.
So what alternatives do they have now?
Okay. In terms of higher education, what I see that a lot of UK students come to Spain at the end of the day studying as well. So. Because they want to have an alternative, by the way. Now, in terms of education, you can study worldwide, and especially in Great Britain, it's more the private education. It's very old, that a business that already exists. In terms of, for example, of Erasmus, for sure, 100%, there is a huge movement. I'm an Erasmus student as well. I landed in Spain thanks to Erasmus. But now for Spaniards, they can go worldwide. The higher education offer, or the bachelor's degree offers, it's a very huge market in all the countries. So nowadays, you can study, for a Spain student, they can study for sure in Spain if they want to. I study at La Complutense de Madrid. Or they can go away, not only with Erasmus, but maybe they could pursue the bachelor's degree outside. Why? Because they can do in English as well, or in other countries in Spain. I highlighted the University of Bologna, my alma mater in Italy. That was one of the first public university that started pushing education in English, but in Spanish as well, some courses, okay? So they have a huge alternative. It really up to students where they want to go in the future, when they want to leave or not, or they open new markets. For sure, for the Spaniards, go to Latin America, it's very easy, to go in terms of same languages, but in the last analysis that the Chamber of Commerce of Spain did with the Italian Chamber of Commerce, the two embassies, the Italian address to Spain, the Spain address to Italy, the first destination for Spanish students now is Italy. They decide to go to study to Italy because I completely understand it, and vice versa. The distance, it's 1.5 hour flights at the end of the day, very similar cultures in terms of food, in terms of languages and lifestyle as well. I hope that I answered the question because I didn't hear very, very well.
Actually, the UK is an interesting case because after Brexit, and we have from the Instituto Cervantes, we are, we have the consequences of this very clearly in our daily operation in the UK. After Brexit, the British Council officially recommended the people in general, students in particular, to learn Spanish as the first foreign language. This, I don't know how much effect that recommendation had, but it was an official recommendation. We have a clear increase in our students of Spanish at the Instituto Cervantes. We had to increase, our operation had to grow, and the study of Spanish in general has experienced an important upturn since Brexit. This progress of Spain is clearly in detriment of French, for what I see because of the figures. And yeah, it's interesting because Spanish language students are basically spread against the United States, the European Union, and Brazil. Those are the most important. But outside these three areas, it is the United Kingdom that stands up as a country where there's been steady and quite impressive increase in the number of students. So the UK is an interesting case.
Any other questions? Okay, over there. Your name, please?
Penelope. Thank you very much for the panel. It was very
No se oye.
interesting. Penelope.
Yeah, but I don't think it's working.
Oh, is it working? It's working? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to thank you for the panel. It was very interesting. I wanted to speak more about the part from education. Coming from a Latin American country myself, the English language there and the part of education is very weak. So people often opt to go to Spain because it's a very good balance with Spanish and with English. However, I do feel that Cyprus could have the same impact if it were to implement the language more. So I wanted to know what implementations could be done to foment and highlight this language, and so more tourism can come to the country as Erasmus students or any other Spanish-speaking.
But are you asking about English or Spanish?
Spanish.
Okay, okay. So,
No, me. Yeah. As I have already said, the numbers of the students opting for Spanish is growing. However, since it is only being taught in public education in the 2 final years of the studies of the secondary education, they don't reach a high enough level for them to seek a place in the university. They have to go to private classes because you need a B2, I think.
from public schools, A2.
To go to university, you need a
A2.
B2 for the
A2?
B2.
B2.
Yes.
So we barely reach A2 in the best cases. So public education cannot send you to the university, but it does set a basis for further education. We have a lot of students opting for Spain for their master's degree now, and I think the English speaking programs are beginning to show, our students begin to show interest for them. But if we don't change the policy within the public education, there's not much that we can do.
The demand is there, actually.
The demand is there,
Yeah. Students want to study Spanish in compulsory secondary education from the beginning, but since the policy is English and French, they don't have the option. So we have to speak to policymakers and make the change. Thank you. So over here, another question.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Michel, and I'm also Spanish, but I'm also half French. So I want to ask a question about the role of Spanish in regards to French. Right now we are experiencing in the world a huge interest for Spanish. We see it in Latin America, in the US, elsewhere. You describe it very well. But in the next 50 years, it is expected that there will be a huge population increase in Africa and in French-speaking Africa. So we can already expect that French will make a comeback as a very important global language. It has always been, and you know it very well, especially in this part of the world, it has a lot of prestige. But how would you see this? How would you see the role of Spanish in regards to French in this new
scenario?
In this new scenario, in these new years that will come, because we will have the center of gravity of Spanish will be in America, and the center of gravity of French will be in Africa.
Yeah, Pilar, please.
That's another point that is very well brought up, because there is a future decrease in the numbers of Spanish. It's not going to go up like that, and it's precisely due to demographic issues. This last report, the 2023 report, it shows that the number of Spanish speakers will continue to grow over the next 5 decades, and its relative weight will decrease progressively between now and the end of the century. The number of potential users of Spanish will continue to increase until 2071. It's known exactly. Well, I mean, we'll see if it's right, but it looks like that. When it will exceed 718 million people, and that year represents the peak of the trend throughout the century. From 2071 onwards, the number of Spanish speakers is expected to fall progressively to 693 by the end of the 21st century. This is mainly due, as you pointed out, to a drop in the birth rate in the Spanish-speaking countries, especially in Latin America. And that will definitely, it's going to hand over to other regions of the planet, such as Sub-Saharan Africa or Central and South Asia also. That will be the drivers of the population growth. And of course, there is a huge influence of the French there. Look, we don't have the feeling at all of competition with French or with German. This is not the spirit that is, nowadays among our colleagues, among the Cervantes, among, the government in general, and the attitude of the Spanish people. We really feel there's room for everybody, and that we will, it will go, the figures will be different in one time or another. France has such an enormous influence in the world. It's not a question of competing, if you know what I mean. We will find our place. As I mentioned before, within the challenges, there are areas where we can try to increase our presence in the United States, in other places, but, well, yeah, it's a reality. The realities are there, and we just have to continue working as well as we can. But it's a very interesting point, because it's clear that the decrease is there. It will be there from 2071.
If I can jump in, I think it's like, it's not terms of beating, you know, it's not terms of competition at the end of the day. So I think we should push new generation to speak all the languages possible. Why? Because at the end of the day, you understand better your culture, not in terms of business, but in terms to avoid problems as well. Because when you speak the language, you understand the culture as well. It's huge, it's clear. Africa is growing up in terms of natality, no? In terms of demographics, not as Europe like that. So it's clear that in the next 50, French could be like second or first language at all for speaking, but I think we should push new generation to more languages possible, because it's the only way to avoid having kinds of conflict as well, and then understand better the world. So it's a very good opportunity, you know, this one that for people that now is at the school, say, look out, terms of jobs of the future. If you don't know French, you're out. So start to study French as well at the same time.
So thank you, Andrea. So with that remark, I would like to say that with languages, the world becomes smaller for everybody. So we have a few minutes left. Any more questions? Over here, please.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. I have a question for Pilar and Andrea. Since you are in charge of this region that is the Eastern Mediterranean, or more or less, that's the region you are in charge of. It's a very complex region with many ethnic minorities, native languages, religions. So I was wondering, when you are trying to reach your, let's say, your potential students, how do you plan this? Do you have
a strategy? Okay. So different. The point is, when you teach a foreign language, you teach it like it is different culture, different world. But at the end of the day, all of us are the same, no better or worse, but different. So it doesn't matter what religion you have, what language you speak, what background you are coming from. You are going to be immersed in a new culture, in a new language. So everybody is welcome to learn a new language, whatever culture it is, whatever language or background they have. So
I think that's precisely the challenge of an institution like Instituto Cervantes, where we have, 100 centers almost all over the world. It's really to adjust to where you are and to sell our products to the public who is there. You diplomats know a lot about this also. In the area where that we coordinate from Greece, there's also another factor, like for instance the Jewish heritage, the Sephardic heritage. That's another very important point for us because we have an influence in that community and a special bond with that community that helps also to bring Spanish. There are people who either have heard Ladino, there's old Spanish in their families, and they're interested in the. So in each country, in each center almost, each city has a different way of approaching it. And I think a good or a bad running of a center, or a good, it depends really very much on that, on being able to adjust to the reality. And to be successful with what you're offering, and to making people interested in what we're offering. But I think in general we're living a very, sorry Andrea, I will leave you to, but we're living through a very sweet moment for Spanish. I mean, I was posted in the Netherlands before coming here, and even in the Netherlands, it's been a wonderful interest for Spanish, an interest in coordinating the different institutions interested in Spanish, because the interest was growing. And in this region, it's really, it's a very encouraging work, because you see that also that the interest in Spanish is not just a technical or, thinking of the future, of the professional future. It's very much something coming from the heart, and it's strange to say that, but, at a panel like this, because we are with the figures and all that, but in this region, it's much more than the figures. There is something, I think it has to do with La Casa de Papel, in some proportion, but it also has to do with a feeling very close to this Hispanic culture and to Spain and to Latin America and so on.
Yeah, no, for my case, I manage 18 countries, and I love it, I really love it, with different geopolitical issues at the end of the day. So it's very easy for us, the strategy is one. We don't care about geopolitics, we don't care in terms of culture, we don't care about the language you speak, we care about the person, who you are, which is your value added that you bring to, i.e. in this case, bring to Spain. So what our strategy is, we put the person in the middle, and when you came to Madrid and start studying with us, you are a person with everybody. It's nothing else, So it's very easy, to explain to people or to parents as well, because 100%, there are very tough geopolitical issues nowadays as well, Nowadays, very tough geopolitical issues. But at the end of the day, you are a person, you are a single person. So I manage countries that very, very tough sometimes, but we need to understand who you are, and when you are in no time to joke with geopolitical issue, no time to be no respect with the others. At the end of the day, the door is there, and you are kicked out, Because person first, and then for sure, you can come from Greece, you can come from Cyprus, Serbia, Croatia, Italy, you have your own culture, perfect. It's a value added where maybe I can bring you something, and you learn something new, but that's all. When you put geopolitical, religious issue, and try to create a conflict, you are out at the end of the day, because you are not the right person to study. You are not giving a value to the class.
So thank you very much for all your questions and for being here today. We are closing the panel discussion now, and we hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.